This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check you have the tickets in your wallet first before you drive 2 hours to the big game. Seriously, you had one job. Now the closest you'll get to the 50-yard line is parking lot D. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
This episode is brought to you by Honda. When you test drive the new Prologue EV, there's a lot that could impress you about it. There's the class-leading passenger space, the clean, thoughtful design, and the intuitive technology. But out of everything, what you'll really love most is that it's a Honda. Visit honda.com/EV to see offers.
And now, live from the TCL broadcast studios, it's Joe Souchere and Patrick Royce with Sports Talk.
Nobody told me.
Well, stuff happens out there. Stuff keeps happening, baby.
I didn't know why.
The world keeps going around.
Rook was, telling us about his success over the weekend with the sink. I didn't really know if you wanted
Well, you scored a Jaguar automobile?
from a coworker here in the building.
Right.
I'll be damned.
She sent out a flyer, but
I never saw that either.
I already saw her downstairs and said you shortchanged yourself at least $500. I would have outbid him for it.
Right.
Guess what, Pat? It's for sale.
Yeah,
Really?
right. You
No,
can
I'm
still
kidding.
get it for 500 more.
All right. Yeah.
No, very nice vehicle. I'm very happy.
Yes, it's
XJ8,
it's
6.
It's an S type, the green.
We just
It's a green one.
We just want you to be very careful driving those because the police have a tendency to pull them over.
Pat, this is not a joke. I drove it I drove it home Saturday. Then I had to go do the title transfer and stuff this morning. You can tell the difference. The way that people either drive around you or the way that you're viewed in a vehicle like that.
Yes, and the cops.
Oh, yeah.
The cops do. They don't want you. If it says 60, don't go over 63, man.
No.
Do I know the employee who sold it to you?
Yes.
Yes, you do.
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Joe, for $1 million.
Patrick and
What
the
do you
fellas.
got the button on for there on your jacket? What is that?
Oh, this was from last Friday. It's cold in here, so I always keep this at work. When we celebrated the 242nd birthday of
The United States Marine Corps.
Thank you.
I have become fascinated with Roger Goodell's new contract request.
Yes.
He wants $50 million a year.
Well, 49 and a half.
49 and a half.
That's damn close. That's kind of like when they put the price tag at $9.95 in the grocery store.
Right.
They don't want to charge you $10, right?
He wants a use of a private jet for life.
For life.
Requested lifetime health insurance for his family.
Now, I'd give a guy lifetime health insurance. The private jet, if you made 40, let's say you get 5 more years at 49.5.
You buy your own.
Yeah, you can at least get in one of those clubs with 4 other
Tell my
fellas.
kids, coach builds character.
Yes.
Coach builds character.
That's I don't. Jerry Jones has been made to look like the bad guy in this, but I agree with him. This is ridiculous. He's been making, by the way,
30
Joe.
million.
But with bonuses, he's been making $50 million for years. Here.
Okay, why is he embattled with Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, who has threatened to sue the NFL if negotiations regarding Goodell's contract extension are finalized without approval from all team owners?
Well, mostly he's upset that they gave his guy Ezekiel Elliott a 6-game suspension. But I think he's also says, how come we're paying this guy this much money? The money's rolling in, and Goodell really has had nothing to do with the money rolling in.
An unnamed NFL owner told ESPN that there are several owners in the league who don't make $40 million a year. The owner added, the number for Roger just seems too much. It's offensive. It's unseemly, especially to the public who has to build the ballparks.
Well, it's unseemly. I don't know. It's a little bit unseemly to those of us, I would think, to us citizens of Minnesota who are watching our corporations raise over $50 million to host the Super Bowl in order to give Jerry Jones and Roger Goodell free suites and free everything. I think that's unseemly.
I do,
that
too.
we have to.
I do, too.
You know, $50 million from the local corporations. You think we got some charities in town that could use that a little more than the National Football League? Huh?
Yes,
Plus
I do.
10,000 volunteers, right, Reavers? As you pointed out on Twitter. Why do we need unpaid volunteers with as much money as this league makes? Roger should pay them himself.
Well, here's the other thing I read. There's a possibility of this scenario that using league's bylaws, Goodell gets rid of Jones. That Jones can be found to be unfit for ownership and drummed out of the league.
They tried that with Al, though, too, didn't they? And that didn't fly.
They did go to court. But the apparently Arthur Blank, the Atlanta guy, he's the guy who needed a new stadium 20 years after he got the other one, or 15. But Arthur told him to cease and desist with his suing threat, with his threats to sue. Because he's on the competition committee. But do they not know how bad that looks to pay a commissioner $49 million? Although Bud was making huge dollars at the end in baseball, too.
But here, puzzle me this. Why in the hell is it worth that much?
Don't know. I
Does he personally go out and become responsible for the lucrative television contracts?
Well, he's
got to be
I
a part
suppose
of it.
he walks into the room and says this and that, but I think to demand that much takes a lot of guts.
Okay, the other thing
he's a pompous ass. There's no doubt about it. Jerry's crazy, but Goodell, and you know, part of his problem is he's henpecked too. And I'm an eyewitness account to him and Mrs. Goodell getting into the limo on Monday morning at the Super Bowl in Phoenix and her chewing his ass out. All right.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
It sounds like if Jerry Jones wants contract approval only by virtue of touching base with all NFL owners.
Well, he wants them all to approve. Yeah.
Okay, is it currently a committee?
I think it's currently
six people.
Yeah. But they have to take it. They have to get 3/4, or I think they have to get 3/4. But Ziggy and the boys have already signed off on it. It's just Jerry and probably Robert Kraft because of the Brady mess. He's probably against him. But I think they should all be against him for making $49.5. But by the way, whoever says that there's an owner not making $40 million, maybe he's not giving himself $40 million, but there's not a team in the league that's not making $100 million. You know.
Well, and it just looks bad too when you're in the middle, or I guess just in the wake of all of the litigation involving former players who are walking around, half brain dead too. I just think it looks so bad on all parts by these demands of his new contract. I think it's laughable.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Another owner told ESPN that Roger is defiant and they don't believe he'll take a pay cut or resign as commissioner of the NFL. Well, he will take a pay cut if he wants to stay on as commissioner and they come to their senses.
Yes. And his
He's going to walk away
contract's
from
up.
$30 million?
And his contract's up. They could replace him in 5 minutes. And you know who would be his replacement in all likelihood?
I don't know.
Todd Lewicki.
Really?
He's now the number 2 man at the NFL.
He's probably rooting for go away,
The
Roger.
man who
Go
came,
away, Roger.
The man who came up with the state of hockey, followed by the state of football out in Washington, D.C. He's not above stealing an idea, Todd Lewicki, but he's the number 2 guy at the NFL office now. He'd probably take less than 49. He might take 35,
This is
something reasonable. Like 35.
Right. We got him at a bargain. We got him at a bargain.
Well, there's no player in the league making more than 22 or 3.
Yeah.
I think it's Stafford. Stafford's the highest, and it's less than 25.
But do they really think their long-term financial outlook is that healthy?
Oh yeah, they still have TV contracts.
Did you see
Papa John's making a little.
Did you see the
ripple.
stadium? Did you see Soldier Field yesterday?
A lot of empty seats?
Maybe not half full.
Really? Well,
For that game.
people are getting smart. Did you see the field? Did you see the stadium for Nebraska? On Saturday morning, they announced 39. That means about 29. They already pad it by 25%. Upstairs you could have shot a machine gun.
Why are people not going to go
I
for
don't
games?
know.
So wait, one more win, and we're rowing the boat to a bowl game?
Well, we're probably going to one anyway because they're going to need some 5 and 7 teams, and we've got the good academics. We went to a bowl game 3 years ago when
Quick
we were
Lane
5
Bowl.
and 7.
Quick Lane Bowl.
Yeah, beat Central Michigan. I'm still.
That's right.
I still get goosebumps bumps as damn near an alumnus if I'd only spent 2 more years there.
I know some people personally who boycotted the NFL this weekend just because it was Veterans Day weekend and they're tired of the BS.
Well, we only had 3 kneel downs all week, so
That's it, huh?
Yeah,
What team were they on?
2 from San Francisco and 1 from somewhere else.
So the Vikings they stood.
We haven't had anybody not stand. We're in it together.
There was I forget what high school it was or what grade their high school. It was a school where they had their Veterans Day celebration, and there was a group of young African American students that did not stand. It wasn't the national anthem, but they wanted to protest. And I felt like saying, kids, do you realize how many African Americans were war heroes and did so much for this country that they would be turning over in their graves with you guys protesting?
Say, just a moment, please. Found what I was looking for.
All right.
This is from Pro Football Talk, NBC Sports.
Okay.
A league source with knowledge of the situation tells Pro Football Talk that multiple owners already have been discussing the possibility, which flows from Article 8 of the NFL's Constitution and bylaws, specifically Section 8.13 authorizes the commissioner to determine that an owner has been or is guilty of conduct detrimental to the welfare of the league or professional football. If the commissioner believes the available sanction, a $500,000 fine, is not adequate or sufficient, the commissioner may refer the issue to the NFL's executive committee, which has the power to compel cancellation or forfeiture of the franchise in the league of any member club involved or implicated with a directive to sell the team. It's obviously an extreme outcome, and it surely would trigger years of litigation, but the possibility has emerged primarily because Jones has opted to take family business outside the family. As the source explained it, the primary affront comes from the belief among owners that Jones instigated Papa John's CEO John Schnatter to disgrace the NFL, blaming league leadership for ratings declines and in turn a reduction in Papa John's revenues. It's unknown whether the NFL or any of its owners has warned Jones of a potential attack on his ownership of the Cowboys, and at this point it's unlikely that any such effort will be made. However, the topic has emerged among owners due directly to Jones' recent threats of litigation and related efforts to disrupt the business of the league. So basically, if Jones ultimately doesn't oust Goodell, Jones may need to worry about Goodell ousting Jones.
But they're saying that they don't have any evidence that Jones got the Papa John guy. They believe that, they said, or they don't. They believe that he got the Papa John guy to come out and say that the reason that but I think the Papa John said the reason was the protests.
Mm-hmm.
And Jones, of course, after Trump, about a week or 10 days after Trump, the first thing he did the week after Trump was he and the players all took a knee and then stood up for the anthem, right, Ravers? They linked hands.
Yeah, it was a
And then
Sunday
the
night
next
game in
week
Houston.
after Trump came out, and I think he was trying to develop this strategy of poor leadership by the league, then that's when he came out about a week after Trump saying, we can't, anyone who doesn't stand for the anthem on our team won't play. So.
Well, it's fun to watch these
It is fun
rich
to watch
people
these
destroy each other.
These rich old white guys try to kill each other.
Yeah.
It's great. I love it. I hate the NFL and everything it stands for. But hey, welcome to the Super Bowl. And we'll have another Super Bowl story coming up.
That's the spirit of it. That's the spirit.
We'll have another.
You know?
They you know what? The NFL and the Super Bowl host committee got together and they said, who's our number one supporter in the Twin Cities to do 52 Super Bowl stories?
Yes.
And they said it has to be that fat guy at 1500 ESPN. So
who will
Here I am.
paint such a beautiful, eloquent picture
Yes, it
of
is.
Super Bowls past.
Did you see the photos of the 10,000 volunteers wearing their new coats and
Oh, no, I
jumping
didn't.
up and down?
I didn't.
We were over at the X, right?
I guess.
Yeah. We're very excited.
You know, if you're a volunteer, you're a. Oh wait, that's right. I'm in bed with the Super Bowl committee. Excuse me.
If you're a volunteer, you're a
you're a
charitable,
good helper.
charitable
Yeah, you're a
civic
good-
steward.
Nice new jacket.
Yep.
You get a nice jacket,
parka.
and guess what? You're not going to be watching the Super Bowl.
No, you're
gonna
not
be-
allowed to
You're
watch
going to be 50 miles away someplace
In a parking lot.
helping people push out of the blizzard. 25 inches.
You're going to be in Wadena.
February 2, 25 inches. The heavy stuff. The heavy
This
stuff.
is right.
The 20 that you know what you want? You want the stuff with a lot of water content.
Yeah.
And then we get the traditional post-blizzard 28 below
freeze.
howling wind. Don't you think that sounds good?
Well,
like a skating rink.
well, you can say that you're being mischievous, but
But it could happen.
not only could it happen, but it would be fitting. If you want a Super Bowl in Minnesota, let's have Minnesota.
Well, the title is
right.
Bold North.
Yeah.
Let's be bold.
Yes.
That's true.
Kenny, what do you think?
I accidentally saw a couple plays of that Vikings game yesterday. Why are you guys bitching about this current quarterback?
I'm not.
Yeah, I don't get
I'm
it.
not.
I don't either.
He was
want
amazing.
I'm
Yes, Case was great.
He threw
Casey Kasem.
threw 2 picks, but big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw him throw some amazing passes, and whoever this cracker is, number 19, well,
Adam Thielen.
Oh, that dude can catch anything.
Detroit Lakes.
He's the pride of
Detroit
Mankato
Lakes,
State.
Are you
Minnesota.
kidding me?
Mankato
No. He's
State,
one of
Detroit.
ours?
Yeah.
He's up
Yeah.
there.
Did you see that catch in the end zone? My God.
He's
amazing.
terrific.
He's the definition, Kenny, of a walk-on. He got a tryout with the team a couple of years ago.
trade by the Maverick. Trade by the Maverick.
My accidental viewing of the few quarters yesterday led me to believe this team's going to be in the Super Bowl in its hometown.
That could happen, Kenny. And, the one thing is that Thielen was around a couple of years ago when that weak-armed Bridgewater was playing quarterback, the guy throwing those floaters, and they couldn't get the ball to him. But, it's unfortunate that Teddy got hurt. But yesterday was a game they never win if Teddy's playing quarterback. That was a Case Keenum victory.
I just kept yelling at the TV, throw it to the white guy, the cracker, throw it to the cracker.
That's right. He's so good, I would violate my general manager tenant of never having a white receiver. If I was a general manager, I would never have a white receiver. But in this case, I'd make an exception.
Why is there any talk at all of replacing Keenum?
Yeah, why?
Why would you bring in Bridgewater now?
I don't get it either, but it's because the fan base is in love with Teddy.
No,
and-
the coach is in love with him.
And
And
the
the
coach
coach
is in love
today
with him.
basically said, he talked more about the interceptions than he did the.
I do have one complaint about yesterday's game. The leapfrog celebration in the end zone.
Too forced?
I'm glad I wasn't armed because I'd be TV shopping today.
Yeah.
That was disturbing.
It is.
That
It's,
was- that
We're
was
just so cute.
disgusting.
We were just trying to
That
be
was not
extremely
cute. That was the dumbassery at its finest.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Say we'll be back. We'll be back shortly, but no. I thought Jason Zucker scored all 6 goals in 3 straight victories. I forgot that they lost the middle game. So, here's John Height in the newsroom.
No, I thought they'd won 2 in a row.
They won.
They've won 2 in a row.
They won 2 in a row. They lost the first
Toronto
one.
beat them 4-2.
Whatever.
Who's my new mayor?
Mel Carter.
No.
Mel Carter.
Oh, Jacob Fry.
Jacob Fry.
Yeah.
Oh, is he a commie?
Yeah.
No, not by their standards. By their standards, he's William Buckley.
He's not the carpetbagger, is he? Is he
I think he comes from
He's
New
been here
York.
10 years.
That's okay.
10 years. He's been
That's
here.
okay.
All right.
He doesn't like fireworks at 1 a.m. after the All-Star game. We know that. He was very upset about that.
Yeah. Let's just say it's not going to be an improvement for you.
Okay.
Oh, it'll be an improvement. It'll be an improvement.
Less bike lanes?
Yeah, less bike lane.
I've yet to see a bike on Pelham Boulevard, and the whole street's been rerouted
But
for bikes.
your trouble, Kenny, is that the mayor has very little power over there. He can be outvoted by the city council at any time, and you got quite the city council now, Kenny.
Yeah.
It's the left of me by about 5 miles.
Here's John Height.
Thanks, Joe. Partly cloudy, 46 degrees. Miguel Sano had surgery today to help his recovery from that stress reaction in his left shin. The operation on the Twins' third baseman was in New York at the hospital for special surgery. A rod was inserted to help strengthen Sano's lower left leg recovery time. 6 to 8 weeks. When the surgery was scheduled 2 weeks ago, the Twins anticipated he would take part in spring training and be ready for the season.
You know what this story is lacking and will probably continue to because of privacy matters? What is the definition of rod? Is it a nice little thin piece of metal, or are we putting in a peg leg? What are we doing here? We got to know what the rod
I got to
means.
think it's a small rod.
Well, then we should. Then we shouldn't call it a rod. We should say a small piece of metal.
Yeah.
The Turkey Committee is observing this and is somewhat disappointed, actually, that we ended up having to have surgery.
I have a rod in my wrist.
Do you?
Yeah, a bunch of screws, too.
Okay. All right.
I'm not taking the bait.
Yeah, we're going to let that one
I
fly.
have the x-rays to prove it.
All right.
Timberwolves in action tonight. They're on the road to play Utah.
That's why they call you Lefty now.
And Gopher basketball team back at it tonight. They're on the road at
Providence. Bad news, Marvin Barnes and Ernie DiGregorio's alma mater.
Hey, were you up in Collegeville over the weekend?
Yes, I was.
How was
sir.
the crowd there?
Not 5,000 maybe. They said 5,000. It wasn't too bad.
You see where St. Thomas squeaked by St. Olaf?
By St. Olaf 97-0. And I'm sure that Coach Caruso was being very kind to the Oles since his former offensive coordinator is the coach.
I know
They
some.
now draw Eureka College from
And
Illinois.
Eureka is not as good as St. Olaf.
I think you're pronouncing it wrong. I think it's Eureka!
You got the exclamation point.
They
after.
won the UMAC, which is the school that St. Scholastica, the conference St. Scholastic is in, which got nudged 98-0 by the Johnnies early this year.
Oh, man.
They got a D3 imbalance problem.
How
that's,
long is the MIAC going to put up with this?
I don't think they are. I think there's a good chance you might have Carlton and Hamlin eventually say, we're going to put all our resources into schools in which sports in which we can compete. And then the fellas will, and maybe St. Olaf, and then the fellas will have a 6-team conference, and then they're going to have issues.
Yeah, we were talking about it off the air here. If you were a St. Ole student and you already probably maybe didn't really like the St. Thomas students, how bad do you hate them now after a 97-zip drubbing?
I think Glenn only went for 2-3 times.
Oh, that's nice of him.
You got to practice that 2 points.
Well, Matthew Jr. has some friends on the St. Thomas team that don't really see a lot of play time, but there were pictures all over the internet of each one of them scoring a touchdown, and they were so they were very happy.
One of the problems is they can only travel 60. So when you're at home and you're beating somebody 109, you have a better chance to get fifth stringers in.
Yep.
So put that water boy in. Hey, kids, suit up.
Yeah, so guys like me got to
I was
get
just
into
going to
the game.
say, Kenny, it was rookie got in the game.
Do they have the option of shortening that game?
You can go to running time.
Yeah, that's what Glenn said. He volunteered that, and they didn't want to do that.
That's what they should have done. Parents of alumni or alumni in the stands, come on down.
Yeah, we got
Saint Scholastica was offered the same option and declined.
But is that at some point though? It's not. Your pride can't take over to you're down that bad to say stop the clock.
Brad
Just run
Lane
it.
told me this. 6-man football in Texas. They play 6-man instead of 9-man. They're little schools. 50 points, it's over. Walk off, it's over. That's what they should do.
Oh, you think one of the St. Thomas players would just score him a touchdown for the other
Run a
team?
Jim Marshall on him.
Just turn around and run it in for him. Here you go,
Start
fellas.
going the other way and yell at his teammates, catch me if you can, and then take off.
News notes from today. Former University of Minnesota and Park of Cottage Grove basketball star Sam Jacobson and his wife Tracy pleaded guilty to residential mortgage fraud today in Dakota County Court. They'll be scheduled sentenced, January 29th. Jacobson, who helped lead the Gophers to a now vacated berth in the Final Four as a junior in 1997, was accused of convincing his lender, J.P. Morgan Chase, to approve a short sale of his Apple Valley home to his then-girlfriend and now wife Tracy in 2011 because of financial struggles. The sale for $361,892 contained an arm's-length transaction in which both Jacobson and his wife stipulated the transaction has been negotiated by unrelated parties. However, the criminal complaint alleges Tracy Jacobson told authorities on paper Sam moved out, but in reality, he didn't. Jacobson had informed Chase that his fiancée wanted to lower the offer on the home. If Sam Jacobson could stay there, you can't sell a house in that fashion, according to J.P. Morgan.
I'm confused. I'm confused.
Yeah, it's a short sale to somebody you know, basically.
Okay.
Which is not allowed because
it's illegal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's illegal.
Huh? Mm-hmm. What?
Kenny does it all the time.
Short sales are awesome. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but
let's go back to the 6-man thing. So 6-man on no. Think about this. 6-man on an offensive side. So what do you have left?
3 and 3. You got
3
2 guards in a center.
Oh,
you
not
got
4
2 guards in a center, but everybody's eligible. But the ball has to be, according to Brad, the ball has to be touched by a second player before you can throw a pass.
Oh.
And just like Alexandria Center, they always have to have a cigarette in their mouth. Just like you.
I didn't play for the Cardinals, and the Cardinals are 11-man, and they're quite competitive.
I'm not ripping them. I'm ripping you.
And we're on in Alexandria, so you go ahead and rip the Cardinals. And
that's Chris Reavers
live in
ripping
Alexandria.
Cardinals lost to Brainerd in the sectional final.
They did, yeah.
How about the Maple Grove game on Thursday night? Pat, you were gone on Friday, but we talked about it.
It was unbelievable.
3 touchdowns and what was it?
59 seconds.
59 seconds.
Yep.
2 onside kicks recovered. And you got to know that on that last onside kick, they were holding and cheating and grabbing and throwing guys out of the way. And you got a bunch of high school officiating dorks who wouldn't call anything. I kind of feel sorry for St. Michael Albertville. I think there was cheating involved without having been there. But
without any knowledge of it.
the Twin Cities, the Minneapolis Star-Tribune Gamer said the players were being thrown about in an attempt to get to the ball. Yeah.
Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker has signed a bill setting up an open season on groundhogs. The governor signed the measure Saturday. The bill removes groundhogs from the state's protected species list. Calls on the DNR there to establish year-round hunting and trapping season with no bag limits. Supporters,
that's the same as a woodchuck?
Yeah, the most peaceful animal in the world.
Yeah, but they get in your buildings and wreck everything.
That's the reason, actually, Kenny. They're undermining building foundations, destroying gardens, and sidewalks and roads also being destroyed. Woodchucks or whistle pigs. I've never heard whistle pigs.
Never heard whistle pigs.
What a great band name. Oh, my God. That's awesome.
That's pretty good.
Yes.
And women are less...
Okay, let's go back to those poor things. So behind that peaceful countenance.
Yeah, evil alerts.
They're up to no good.
Not only they're peaceful, Patrick, but they're really, really stupid. One time, there's one about 30, 40 yards away, and I've got 9 shots in my .22 revolver, and I think I was up to number 7
before you finally got him.
Before I got him, and he didn't move at all. He just sat there looking at me. Well, are you shooting at me, dummy?
Eating that grass, man. All they do is they eat grass.
They'll eat your house too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, I think they should be protected. I think they're cute.
Uh-huh. All right, Johnny, you better hold your thoughts.
Okay.
Say it like you mean it. Say it like you do.
Authorities say a man who was in a Colorado court for violating his bond on a drug charge is in more trouble now after a wad of cocaine fell out of his hat while he was in front of the judge.
Whoops.
The Vail County reported that 43-year-old Juan Jose Vidrio Bibriesca was standing next to 2 other defendants at an Eagle County District
Irish
Court
fella.
podium when he took his hat off and a square of folded paper fell out. A police officer watched the paper filled with cocaine fall to the floor, and after reviewing surveillance footage, authorities determined it did fall from his hat. Biberesco was then walked to the county jail, charged with narcotics possession and another bond violation. He'll appear in court later this month.
I'm being emailed that the Tommies went for a 2-point conversion 5 times.
5 times.
Five
Okay.
times.
All right. Hey, Johnny.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear of Blaze Foley?
Blaze Foley, sure. Yeah.
The last of this year's Mike Judge's Tales from the Tour Bus is about Blaze Foley.
Really?
He had some issues with the chemicals.
He had a lot of
What,
issues. He was one of the Texas guys. That,
What channel is that?
What was the guy's name?
Cinemax.
Oh.
Cinemax has this series. It's Mike Judge did it. It's 8 parts. And
The
there's-
Beavis and Butthead guy?
Yeah. And it's partly animated, mostly interviews. The first, they got Billy Joe Shaver's the greatest one in there. Most of them are old redneck cowboy singers, but this Blaze Foley was the most anonymous one of the guys that they had. They had a 2-parter on Waylon, and it's pretty damn good. These stories on Blaze. Blaze was sleeping under a pool table one night.
That's
okay?
a safe spot.
And they were playing pool above them. And every time somebody'd make a shot, the ball would go rattling down there, and Blaze would
Pop up and
hit his head, and then lay down and go to sleep again.
Blaze had some issues.
You wouldn't
Blaze was
believe
like
the nightmares I
6'6".
had last night.
Yeah, right.
Blaze was 6'6" or something like that. And he had some issues.
He was taller than his cousin Axel. Axel Foley.
Yes. Yes.
No,
Okay.
that's forbidden.
That is forbidden, isn't
No,
it?
maybe
No,
they
it's
weren't.
Beverly Hills
Maybe
Cop.
they weren't related.
Yes.
Maybe
Not
that
trading
was-
places.
Couldn't have been it.
Same movie.
Part of the Dearborn, Michigan crime
That was
spree.
a Dearborn hijacking when they stole all those cigarettes. They were everywhere.
You think you're so smart, don't you?
I
You
don't.
got that
I just-
smug look on your face. I'm so clever.
Sometimes people get it. Sometimes they don't. See,
Yeah.
I think
I
we
got it.
I know.
We get it. We're just not impressed.
I got it.
He met a young Jewish gal from New York in
Blaze or Axel?
Blaze, and took her home to meet Mom and Dad. And Mom went in her bedroom and started weeping when she met Blaze.
Women are less
Kind of like my mother-in-law.
Women are less likely than men to get CPR from a bystander and more likely to die.
Yeah, I'm not going near that one.
Well, you're exactly correct, Kenny. The new study suggests it's a reluctance to touch a woman's chest to be the main reason. Only,
Oh.
no,
I thought it was
no.
the tongue kissing.
Okay.
No, I don't think you're
No, it was
supposed to
this.
do that.
What are people afraid of
It's
getting
just for
sued?
it's just for the chest compressions. This is how we do CPR in my world.
Only 39% of women suffering cardiac arrest in a public place were given CPR versus 45% of men.
Rook, they call that the David Copperfield.
Oh, the David Copperfield method.
And men were 23% more likely to survive, according to this study. The study involved nearly 20,000 cases around the country, the first to examine gender differences in receiving hard help from the public versus professional responders. Rescuers also may worry about moving a woman's clothing to get better access or touching breasts to do CPR, but doing it properly shouldn't entail that, said study leader Dr. Benjamin Abella. He said you put your hands on the sternum, which is in the middle of the chest. In theory, you're touching in between the breasts.
Oh, it just
Either
matters.
way, my response is going to be the same. Get on there and help her. Help him. Help him, her, whatever. You, get down there.
You're not certified. Yeah.
It all comes down to how bodacious she is, right, John?
Well, I don't think so. The
Well,
study,
Kenny would walk by. No, she's only an A cup. I'm not doing any CPR.
Not into that.
study was discussed at an American Heart Association conference in Anaheim
You knew
yesterday.
bringing up that story was not going to be, lead to
He
tasteful
probably hung
response.
on to it all last week, knowing Kenny would be
I
back
saw
today.
the same
Well, I think that's an
story.
important story, Jeff.
I actually had the story for my normal news, but if you notice the first segment here, we did about 2 news stories, so I thought I'd bring it over.
I'm on the list here at HBI for people that know CPR and can save a life. And when I got on this list a couple years ago, for the first 8 months, people would walk by my desk and say, If I'm dying, let me go. they don't want my help.
I have a DNR. If you're the only one in the room, I've got a DNR.
Oh, wow.
Kenny, did you get a deer?
Yeah, everything's fine.
Attaboy. Yeah, he's certainly nice.
That's enough.
Nice
Pat.
fellow with antlers.
Pat, that's enough.
No, it was a nice
No,
photo.
we don't want to talk about it because the locals already know everything that goes on up at Jackass Ranch. And
You were gone long
we're
enough.
not
You
there.
should have gone.
Yeah.
not going to talk about what happens in the woods.
You were off
Right
about
up
a
to
month,
lunch.
right? Weren't you?
Did you go on vacation with it or what?
Next story, John.
I didn't say anything, Kenny.
Thank you.
I don't want to accuse John of not keeping us properly updated, but on the traffic. But I think he was giving us the same report for 4 days when I was.
The only thing that matters to me,
Kind of tangled down there at 35W.
none of that matters. What matters is the sponsors.
That's right.
Did you get the sponsors in?
And that's what the bosses tell me. Make sure you get the sponsor.
He didn't even care when I did it, and I said, "Oh, there's a lot of red on 94."
As long as you get that
Looks like there's
sponsor
green
in,
on
I'm
494.
happy. Get that sponsor
The
in.
bosses says get the read correct. That's all I care about. So, an internal investigation has been launched at the Detroit Police Department after 2 different precincts got into a turf war as they converged on an East Side neighborhood. Neighbors who live on Andover on Detroit's east side will be the first to tell you the area is known for constant drug activity. Well, last Thursday, the police tried to do something about it, but it didn't work out. Sources say it started when 2 special ops officers from the 12th precinct were operating a push-off near 7 Mile.
What's that mean, John?
That's when 2 undercover officers pretend to be dope dealers, waiting for customers to approach,
I see.
and then arrest potential buyers and seize their vehicles. But this time, instead of customers, special ops officers from the 11th precinct showed up. Not realizing they were fellow officers, they ordered the other undercover officers to the ground. Fox 2 in Detroit has told the rest of the special ops team from the 12th precinct showed up. Officers began raiding a house. But instead of fighting crime, officers from both precincts began fighting with each other.
We got to get ours.
This is like Super Troopers. This is awesome.
Sources say guns were drawn, punches were thrown between the 2 sets of cops, while the homeowner stood and watched.
And he wasn't a drug guy.
There's got to be video of this.
The department's top cops were notified along with internal affairs. Each officer involved is now under investigation as the department tries to figure out what went wrong. There apparently were some body camera videos that they are looking at. It's now part of the internal investigation. Police say they're trying to figure out what went wrong.
Rook, isn't that where Alex Foley originally came from? Detroit? Before he
Alex
went
is the cousin that was shunned. Axel, though, was right after the Dearborn hijacking. He took that right down there, and those guys were all.
All right, okay. I didn't
Keystone
memorize
Cops.
the movie.
That's okay. No, it's good, but
How many times have you seen it?
you don't want to know. I don't want to depress you. You hit the button. I don't want to depress you.
Why don't you go to a Wyoming? What do you call it?
Wyomania.
Why don't you go in September when it's nice?
Well, because they're all baseball writers, basically, and they all wait till after the general managers meetings in Orlando. So it's got to be one of the last 2 home games, generally speaking. This is a good one, Fresno State, and it's going to be 40-some degrees. So
That's not bad.
And it's a 2:00 kickoff. Last time I was out there, it was an 8:30 p.m. kickoff, and it was about 10 degrees, and
Right.
it was snowing.
What's coming up?
And they got beat 63-14. But what's coming up? Chip Scoggins on the Gophers, Ben Gessling on the Vikings, and the Manny Hills 4 deep thoughts from an NFL Sunday to kick off at 4 o'clock.
He does tend to have very deep thoughts, doesn't he?
He does, and he knows he watches it. You know, I wanted a guy who actually watched.
He got 4 screens going?
He's the man. Well, he's probably got Red Zone, man. If you got Red Zone, you got it all.
That's true.
Okay.
1,500.
He doesn't know what Red Zone is.
No, ESPN is KSTP, St. Paul, Minneapolis. It's 45 degrees. The Ride with Royce's up next.